Brooke, what did you see from Rodgers at this first full day of camp?
Laura, that was Patrick Queen that picked off Aaron Rodgers on his first throw of his first ever team period as a Pittsburgh Steeler. And the two things I noticed about that were, one, the reaction of the crowd. There were a couple thousand people here, and there was a collective, ooh. And two is that Patrick Queen and the defensive players did not do their normal celebration when they pick off a quarterback in practice. Usually they throw the ball up and they pretend that they're skeet shooting it. They did not do that this time. Maybe don't want to put salt in the wound of their new starting quarterback on the very first play of the very first team period. But look, it was kind of a rocky first day for Aaron Rodgers, because not only did he have that first interception, but he was also only 1 of 3 on passes attempted to DK Metcalf. But Rodgers didn't sound too worried about it, and DK Metcalf didn't sound too worried about it, because those two have had 2 individual training sessions, one before Aaron Rodgers signed and one since. Plus, there was the group workout in Malibu, and DK said he's not really worried about a timetable for when the two of them are going to end up being on the same page. And one thing that might help expedite that chemistry building, those two are suite mates here in Rooney Hall. They share a bathroom, and DK told me he thought that he was going to get to have his own room, and he heard a knock at the door. He went to his front door. Turned out it was Aaron Rodgers knocking on the door of their adjoining bathroom. So sounds like they're, getting to know each other, so they get to talk through things, how they see it. And he thought maybe Aaron Rodgers would play video games with him, because the other night Rodgers walked into his room and said, video games, huh? And DK said, yeah. And then Rodgers just turned around and walked out of the room. So maybe he'll pick up the sticks next time. He's just getting a lay of the land.
This is incredible. This is reporting we only get from Brooke Pryor. She's all over all of it. I absolutely love it. Sharing a bathroom, that's one way to get really close with somebody. Could be good, could be bad. I don't know. Overall, by the way, ESPN Analytics has, thanks, Brooke, the Steelers projected for 8.4 wins this season. If they aren't able to get to 9 wins, it would be their first losing season since 2003. They have a 40% chance to make the playoffs. Pittsburgh seeking their first playoff win since 2016, and they have just a 16% chance to win the AFC North, which they haven't done since 2020. We're going to stay in that division. This is a large reason why it's difficult potentially if you look at the Steelers forecast. The Ravens defense drastically improved throughout last season. In weeks 1 through 10, they allowed 25 points per game, which ranked 25th in the NFL. From then on, they allowed just 15 points per game, which was the best in the NFL. Their last 4 games, extra special, allowing just 11 points on average. This included holding the Texans to just 2 points on Christmas Day. In the offseason, they added Jair Alexander, who had some fun with Lamar Jackson at practice today, former college teammate, remember?
Oh, Lamar, yeah, he threw a back shoulder. He tried to throw a back shoulder on me with D-Hop, so I had to give him a little jazz about that. I said, come on, man. I know it's my first day, but man, it's still me. You know what I mean? It's still me. So, but it's always fun. We can joke like that.
I don't even know what that exactly meant, but I love it. D-Wood, what do you expect from this Ravens defense?
To be very multiple, to run a lot of simulated pressure. And what we saw from the Baltimore Ravens defense last year, when they moved Kyle Hamilton back to the kind of center field position, that's when they really started to stabilize the secondary, because the secondary was a real big problem for the Baltimore Ravens. Now you go out in the first round, you add Malachi Starks, a rangy playmaking type of safety out of the University of Georgia. And what you can do with both of those guys is now you can really mix things up. The disguises and the coverages on the back end, that'll make Baltimore even that much harder to decipher if you're opposing offense.
I think this will be one of the best defenses in the NFL, flat out. When you look at the rankings over the course of the season, they're super misleading. Damian, you alluded to this, Laura as well. In the second half of the season, after they made the safety change we talked about, they were first in EPA per play, first in success rate, first in points per game. And they addressed what I honestly will say was their biggest weakness, which was cornerback position opposite Nate Wiggins. Brandon Stevens out, Jair Alexander in. Even if he's not healthy, you have Awuzie there, so you have some depth. I expect this defense to be even better than they were last season, especially with Zach Orr, their defensive coordinator, and some more experience under his belt. He can continue growing with them. So I'm very, very high on this unit. And of course, they get to play complementary football and have the benefit of playing with one of the best offenses in the NFL, too.
Yeah, it's a great point. I agree they're improved. But Mina, check out this schedule. At the Bills, the Browns, Lions, at the Chiefs, Texans, and Rams. That's how they start off. That defense started slow last year. They got to be really good out the gates, right?
Yeah, I think the Bills will test them immediately with the run game, because if there is one thing I'm worried about with this Ravens defense, the loss of Michael Pierce, their nose tackle. Don't sleep on that, and the Bills have a very physical downhill rushing attack.
All right, great stuff. Let's go back to a developing story today. Justin Fields at Jets camp. He was carted off of the practice field, an apparent lower leg injury. That's from Adam Schefter earlier today, but Lindsay is here with more. So Lindsay, what more can you tell us about Justin Fields' injury and his status now?
Sure, Justin Fields carted off, but not nearly as serious as one might have thought initially. It is a dislocated right toe for Justin Fields. He's going to be day-to-day, likely will miss a little bit of time in training camp, but they fully anticipate that he'll be ready to go week 1. So that, like Rich Cimini said today earlier, the front seat of the cart was a big sign that it wasn't as serious as maybe it initially looked, but he was stepped on. That toe is dislocated, so day-to-day situation for Justin Fields.
We'll keep an eye on it. Listen, I'm relieved for Jets fans and for Justin Fields. It doesn't seem to be super serious, but as we talked about, the run game going to be huge in that offense. Fields also known for his legs. His 10 touchdowns on scrambles since 2021 are the second most in the NFL behind Josh Allen. You hope that toe doesn't hold him back. Our Talk Cowboys here on NFL Live. The story has been the talks around Micah Parsons' contract, the back and forth between Jerry Jones and Micah. But what about the offense? Some of the changes Brian Schottenheimer wants to implement. Here he is with more.
Really good linebackers and really good defenses that communicate well, there's tells. So when you shift or change the picture or you motion, it helps disguise that a little bit. And then, of course, when you're using your motions, they're very different. Your motions make them adjust on the run. Shifts, they generally can, what we say, reload the front. So if you shift, the defense can reload. But when you motion, they can't, because you're snapping the ball on the run. So we have those. We like those. Right now, we're playing around with some of the ones that we believe that we'll use. But we change them up pretty regularly.
We love to hear it, because using motion was not the Cowboys' specialty last season. They used motion on 55% of their plays, which was the 18th highest rate in the NFL. They had 16 touchdowns when using motion, which was tied for the 5th fewest, and they ranked bottom 10 in yards per play. Dak Prescott threw 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions when the Cowboys used motion last season. So we'll look to improve on that. But Damian, just how different do you expect this Cowboys offense to look with Schottenheimer now in charge? It's worth remembering he was on the staff before, but just didn't have this level of control.
Yeah, he was actually my former offensive coordinator when I was with the New York Jets, and the one thing we did a ton of was shifts, motions, and things that Brian Schottenheimer did. That's going to be a departure from Mike McCarthy, who preferred more kind of static type of formations. And so what like what Shotty talked about here, what that does is force communication with the defense, and ultimately puts your guys in better leverage points. And so I think we're going to see a lot of shifts, a lot of motions, a lot of pistol, shotgun, all those type of things to try.